The responsible party is the person who looks a missionary in the eye and says, you are ready to go to the mission field.
Galatians 6:2 says, bear ye one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. But who and how and when? My name is Rodney Myers. I have been home from the mission field since May of 2017. And since January of 2018, I've had the honor of becoming the general director of the mission that we represented while serving on the field, the Gospel Furthering Fellowship. With an attempt to answer these types of questions for ourselves, we discovered that our experiences were far from unique among the world of missionaries, especially those living in and underdeveloped countries. We decided that with God as our buckler and shield, we would be that burden bearers for others. God brought us Brother Chris and Nancy Lapino to become our missionary care directors here at GFF. And since then, GFF has been used of God to help debrief and even intervene on behalf of missionaries, both active and inactive, as well as even some missionary kids now living as adults. I invite you to listen as I dialogue with Brother Chris about some basic questions concerning missionary care.
What kind of assistance do you see missionaries as needing, and why do they need it?
Well, I see the primary assistance that a missionary needs is to have a relationship with someone that who they can be totally honest with about their struggles, the challenges, the difficulties that they face, without their sharing being blown off, or an overreaction, or their confidence being betrayed. And on the surface, Rodney, we would assume most missionaries have that kind of relationship, but the fact is, many don't. They simply don't. They have a lot of friends, a lot of contacts, but the idea of the one or ones they really feel free to open up to. So that's the primary assistance that I think they need.
Quick, do you feel like there are certain type of experiences that missionaries are going through that they need to open up to someone other than their spouse, other than personal devotions, or how does that work out?
Yeah, there definitely are experiences that missionaries have that they need to talk about. They may be some deep thing, but often it's something that's unique to being a missionary in a foreign country. And so the relationship needs to be with someone who has some understanding of what it's like to function in a foreign country.
Sure,
and that's probably one of the things that keeps them from opening up. They have lots of contacts, lots of friends, but they're looking for someone who has some understanding of what they want.
Good. How did you come to know this, and why do you personally have a burden for it?
Well, when we started the Chapel Baptist Church about 19 years ago, me traveling to the mission field was a ministry of our church. It was right from the beginning, just like Sunday school, just like Vacation Bible School. So if I was to announce this Sunday, I'm leaving for Tanzania, as I've done a few times, on Tuesday, no one's going to say, what did he say? Where's he going? Or he doesn't need another week's vacation or anything like that. That's put me in this living rooms of a lot of missionaries, their kitchen table, sitting in a restaurant, driving down the road, just listening and learning. So 19 years ago when we started this, I didn't know most of what I know about it today.
Gotcha.
It was a learning experience listening to missionaries.
Sincerely, are you saying that there is a breakdown in missionary training, or a breakdown in missionary support ministries, or both?
Well, the fact is, I think that it's both. And I say that very carefully, because it's not a matter of pointing fingers and telling who's the good, who's the bad, who's doing a good job, who's doing a bad job. When you minister to missionaries, you hear for the ones that are needy. So they've gone to candidate school, they've learned the mission's principles and practices, but then when they get onto the mission field, there's things that they haven't learned about. For example, they haven't learned about the effects of traumatic stress. We often call it PTSD. We're
Sure.
all alarmed at the decline of missionaries on the mission field. Mission boards, mission directors, they talk about how the missionary force is shrinking. We don't have statistics to prove it. The evidence is anecdotal, but by and large, it's agreed upon.
Right.
But there doesn't seem to be a lot of stepping back to saying, why is this the case? Sometimes they say, well, they don't make missionaries like they used to. They're not tough enough. They this, they that, and different reasons. So I think it's a combination of missionaries being trained, and it's supporting missionaries once they're out there.
Who's responsible then, in your opinion?
Now, this is another interesting question. I think at the end of the day, the responsible party is the person who looks a missionary in the eye and says, you are ready to go to the mission field.
Right.
You are ready to depart.
Yeah.
Now, missions involve a sending pastor, but sending pastors, we essentially put missionary in the hands of a mission board. There are supporting pastors, but really, they're helping financially, they're helping prayerfully. They're not the one who give the final go-ahead.
Right.
But the person who looks a missionary in the eye and says, you're ready to go, is interpreted by the missionary saying, you're ready.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, you're ready.
Good.
Quite a thing to say, you're ready.
Good.
I trust you can see that there is a real need for missionaries to have available to them those who can help them bear their burdens in a way which will help them to understand what is happening, process their experiences properly in light of God's word, and either resolve or manage traumatic stresses so they can stay on the field longer and be more effective in their personal lives and long-term missionary endeavors. But we too need help. We need to be able to fund this ministry. If we're going to be as impactful as possible, we need to be as little of an additional burden to missionaries as possible. We're currently seeking and praying for just $2,500 of monthly support. That's a third of the typical cost of supporting a missionary family. But it can help many missionary families in whom we've already invested heavily in their lives to stay on the field and do what we have supported them to do for a much more extended period of time. Would you pray about how to help us help missionaries of any independent Baptist organization or local church with our missionary care program? And in doing so, we would be playing a part together in fulfilling the law of Christ.
We've been talking with Pastor Chris Lupino and taking advantage of his age, experience, and his wisdom and godliness. Thank you, Pastor Lupino. God bless you.
My privilege.
And listen, you know, missions and ministry simply is not worth doing unless it's done with integrity. God bless you.